Been together so long we can't pretend. Remember the way we used to move, dance all night like young lovers do. Your heart is changing. Now we don't dance like we used to. Silent disco on the floor, baby. Mr. DJ, he'll get me through. When the beat's gone, you can't save me, baby. Smoke and mirrors, pretty lights. Another runaway city boy getting too high. But boys like you tell pretty lies. The 5 a.m. low.
This is Broad Radio. For you, by you. Broad Radio. Here for more.
Hello, and welcome to Broad Radio. I'm Jo Stanley, and my co-host this morning is the beautiful and colourful and glorious Kerrie Stanley. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, darling Jo. And if you're a Star Wars fan, may the fourth be with you.
Ah, yes. I've had many years rolling my eyes at that particular
I know. It popped up this morning on my socials and went, oh, we're here again. Another year has passed.
Oh, my goodness. Well, okay, so today it's not about May the 4th or Star Wars. Today is all about Mother's Day, which is coming up on Sunday. We've got a bumper show coming up for you. It's the mother of all shows, let's say that. And we're celebrating women who do amazing things and happen to mother as well. So we have glorious indie artist and disability activist Eliza Hull joining us in just a moment. Former Elle Magazine editor Justine Cullen is joining us. She's got a book that is launching today called Semi-Gloss. She's going to give us the behind the scenes of running a magazine and raising 4 boys. Count them, my goodness. And the hilarious Nelly Thomas, author of Some Mums Are Fat Molls, is joining us as well. We love her so much.
Love that. I cannot wait for that conversation. That's just the best title ever.
It really is. Oh, that's all starting after this. Broad Radio is proudly supported by Chemist Warehouse. Chemist Warehouse, great savings every day. Oh, so Kerrie, it is all about Mother's Day today. What's your vibe on Mother's Day?
I've found over the last couple of years, and we'll have a conversation about that a little bit into the show, a little bit more challenging. But you know what? I remember as a kid thinking, there's a Mother's Day and there's a Father's Day. And of course, as a naive child thinking, why aren't there kids' days? And of course, as you get older, you go, every day it's about children when you're a parent.
It's true. We are celebrating mothers of all kinds today, mothers that have different experiences of parenting and I guess children who have different experiences of their mothers as well. So it's going to be a really interesting show, and we want to bring as much diversity as possible. Before we get to that, a little bit of housekeeping. If you are watching on YouTube, we'd love it if you liked and subscribed. If you're watching on Facebook, you could like and follow us. That'd be awesome. You can catch up via the podcast, Broad Radio on the Go. There it is. And you can catch that on any platform that you listen to your podcasts. And we'd love it if you commented, shared your thoughts throughout the show today. That would be really awesome. And also, you can always engage with us and share us your opinions on our More to Say poll, which we run every week. And we've been doing that in the last week. Our question has been, Kerrie, are high heels dead? Right? Are high heels
That's a
dead?
very good question. A little bit to me, because plantar fasciitis is an absolute bitch. So heels are not my friend. I have been a bit of a sneaker girl for quite some time. But I did recently buy in Sydney last week a pair of glitter platform boots.
Oh,
and they're pretty good.
glorious.
They're pretty good. They are glorious.
Do you know, I feel like plantar fasciitis is something that's handed to you when you turn 40. It's like a little thing that
Oh,
comes in your birthday card.
it really is. And you mentioned it, you're hobbling and you're going, you all right, have you done something? Oh, it's just plantar fasciitis. And they went, oh, yeah, had that. I'm off to the podiatrist today to get my orthotics. It's a rite of passage.
It really is. But we raised this question because last week, glorious Chloe Zhao, who of course won the Oscar for Best Director for Nomadland, and oh my God, I watched that film on the weekend, and I don't know if you've seen it,
Yes,
Kerrie, but it
I
broke
have.
my heart
Yep.
open. Oh my God.
What a glorious film, and so much so that I bought, my mum's in Brisbane, and I rang her that day after I saw it and said, right, I'm sending you to the movies, and I booked her a seat at a cinema and sent her away to see it because it was just glorious. Yeah.
It is just an extraordinary film. And aren't you a nice daughter for doing that for your mum? But yeah, so Chloe Zhao walks the red carpet in trainers, right? There she is. How beautiful is she?
Love that. I loved it.
So we asked the question, are heels dead? And the results, 81% of our respondents said, hells yes.
Is that a sign of our darling viewers and listeners?
It could be our demographic, which we embrace gloriously. But you know what? We're modern ladies and we're embracing the funky trainers. And we have to say thank you so much to the Hook Designs because we've been able to give away this gorgeous beanie to one beautiful respondent each week for the last 3 weeks. So thanks to the Hook Designs. We'll have more beanies later on in the year. We're hoping to give away for that. Now, and I should also mention you can find Hook Designs at their Facebook page, The Hook Designs, if you want to get yourself any kind of gorgeous handmade crocheted deliciousness going into winter. We have more amazing giveaways this week for Mother's Day, which we'll tell you all about in just a moment. But yes, today we're celebrating mums of all different kinds, mums with different experiences. Now, Kerrie, I know that you are adopted, so your experience of Mother's Day, and you have reconnected with your biological mother. What does that make Mother's Day different for you?
Look, when I was growing up, I used to, especially as a teen, I used to wonder what my birth mother was thinking on Mother's Day. Like I thought that she would be in trauma, knowing that I was a coerced or a forced adoption. So I used to kind of sympathize. And then when I got to meet her, I did ask her how it was for the days. And yes, it was always a difficult time for her. But now moving forward, that we've been in contact now for the last 6 years, I think it is 7 years now, that we have a conversation. She's in Perth, so I don't get to see her. But yes, I reach out and say hi and happy Mother's Day. It's kind of to both mum and my birth mum, to Peter and Jill. So it's kind of lovely. I've got two amazing women in my pockets.
Yeah, wow. I think it's really important going into Mother's Day to really acknowledge that there is not one universal version of mothering, basically.
Absolutely. Parenting and mothering comes across in many different formats. But of course, we've got our carers and our foster parents and foster mothers and guardians, and even, our chosen family. Many children, especially in the LGBTQI plus communities, don't have supportive families, so they find their chosen families. So that it comes across in many ways.
Yeah, I love that. We really wanted also to bring the stories of all kinds of people who mother whilst they do awesome other things. And our first guest is one such woman. She is a writer. She was recently included in the wonderful book Growing Up Disabled in Australia. She's a glorious singer. We're going to hear some of her music in just a moment as well. And she's a disability activist and a mum to Isabel and Archie. We welcome Eliza Hull. Hello, Eliza.
Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for
Hello,
having me.
Eliza.
It is so gorgeous to see you there you are in country Victoria on a gorgeous crisp morning. Eliza, I wonder, and I go straight to your disability activist side of things here. Has having a disability changed your experience of being a mother?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, definitely. It's right from the beginning, it's changed my experience. When I first fell pregnant, I just felt like there was absolutely nothing out there that represented me as a impending mother. And, you know, you get given all these incredible parenting books, but I just felt like there was nothing out that represented me as a parent to be. So right from the beginning, that underrepresentation made me feel slightly afraid of what it was going to be a mother with a disability. I have a condition that's called Charcot-Marie-Tooth. It has nothing to do with my teeth. It's just the name that was the founding three French founding medical professionals that founded my condition. It affects the way that I parent in every way. So I walk differently. I can't carry my children when I'm walking around because I fall over a lot, quite regularly. I have muscle weakness in my hands and my legs, and I'm also dealing with a lot of pain and constantly tired. So it definitely has affected my parenting, but I also see it as affecting my parenting in a positive way. I was just thinking about this morning, that, you know, having a body that moves differently and that looks different, that already is teaching my children that all bodies are different, all mothers are different. And by being somebody that's from a diverse group of people, it's also teaching my children that, you know, diversity is so important, and it's what makes our society so great.
And I get how old are your children at the moment?
So I've got a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old. Archie's just turned 1 last week. So I'm very much in the thick of young children right now.
So your eldest is at primary school, obviously. And I guess, you know, when they're exposed to, I guess, as you said, all different types of people, and they would see then the comparison, their friend's mum is different to my mum and all of that. So conversations would be happening, I would imagine, all the time with these little ones.
Absolutely. I mean, I make sure that we have a really wide representation of, all types of people within our books, movies, TV shows, and we just have conversations. And we also have a lot of my friends have disabilities, so we are constantly having people within our home that has a disability, and that's just so great because these conversations, as you said, they're happening, and it means that I feel like my children have that, I guess just that knowledge, and it's such a good thing to have, to be able to go out into the world and understand people and understand unique differences. Recently, when my daughter was in kindergarten, we were in the line and to go inside. It was during COVID, and my daughter had to get her temperature checked to go inside. And a little boy, it's actually the first time that one of my daughter's friends said to her, to his mother, "Why does she walk like that? Why does she walk so funny?" And I really wanted to step into this conversation and I guess use it as a chance to just talk openly. And the mother said, "Oh, she's hurt herself. She's just hurt herself." And the mother actually knew that that's not true, that I actually have a disability. I've had a disability since I was 5 years old. And so I just feel like there's still this idea that disability is a negative, disability is something that we shouldn't talk about, and it should just be an accident, or it should just be something that we can just kind of palm off. Whereas I really believe children, they're the people of the future. So these conversations need to happen, and disability is not a bad thing. Disability is not a bad word. There are barriers in this world that people with disability face, but I truly believe that disability is a wonderful thing, and it's a part of my identity, and it makes me very proud.
Do you feel that you need to then arm your daughter and Archie, your son, when he's older, to assist them to respond to situations like that?
Yeah, I do. I think that, especially think that the teenage years will be tricky, because we all know the pressures of high school, whether you come from a diverse background or not. It's hard territory as teenagers. So of course I'm definitely going to make sure that I continue to talk about differences and talk about disability and make sure that they understand that it's not a negative, and it's something that I'm immensely proud of, and it's something that they should be proud of.
When my children were teenagers in high school, I mean, I came out when they were quite little, but we had many conversations around our community, and that they had to almost educate their friends to speak a particular language, or to take out, because using that term, "oh, that's so gay," was, and lots of other terms, were so derogative. And it was something so simple as to go, all right, well, Connor and Rani, it's up to you to pull your mates aside and go, we don't do that anymore, or that's not good enough. And I guess, something similar will happen with your children. It will be on their shoulders, because it's so normal for them. They've grown up with this, grown up with you, and all this great education, for them just to unfortunately undo that fear-based sensation that, the parents have instilled in them, to kind of break that down. You'll probably find that will happen a fair amount, I would imagine.
Yeah. I hope that they feel strong enough and proud enough to do that. I hope that I've given them that ability to feel like they can do that, but also I don't want to feel like it's up to them to do that. I don't think it's up to disabled people or the children of disabled people to always be the person that's out there being advocates. I think it's up to everybody, actually. Like, non-disabled people need to start thinking about disabled people more in providing that access and providing inclusion. It's not always up to the people. But, hopefully I do give them that sense of, pride that they feel like they can if the opportunity arises and they want to.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It is up to every single one of us. You have produced a series for the ABC called We've Got This, and you're also writing a book of the same title, which is coming out next year. What would you like people to understand that perhaps we don't now understand about parenting with a disability?
Oh, look, I think I've started to delve into this book. I'm nearly finished. It's taken a long time, especially when you've got a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Yes.
So I've interviewed now, part of the collection, I've interviewed about 10 parents, and then we've had another 12 parents write their own stories as well. And then I'm writing my own story within it. And the common thread is that the medical the medical system is one of the biggest parts of what needs to change, because parents face so much discrimination when they're going for an ultrasound, when they're in the birthing suite. Just the things that people say you just would not believe. And so I think that's a real common thread. I think there really needs education around what it means to be a parent with disability. But I really want people to learn that, we are just ordinary parents, and whilst we make changes within our home so that we can parent, well, we're just like everybody else. I interviewed parents that are blind, and when the little ones were, toddlers, they'd put bells on their feet. So in the garden, when they were in the backyard, they could hear where they were. When I interviewed parents that were deaf, they would have a baby cry alarm that in the night would flash brightly so that they could know that their baby is crying. So all of these things that we do to make sure that we can parent, I think they're unique. But then when you go inside these homes, you realise that these children are thriving, and they've got incredible parents that are, not only teaching them about diverse way of life, but they're just like everybody else. So I think that's why the book is really about universal parenting, but also about ways that we can adapt and change. And I think having a disability, especially when you have a disability that you've had all your life, you've already got used to that. So actually, you're probably in the best position to be an incredible parent, because you've had to learn how to adapt all your life.
Yeah, and music is such a big part of your life, Eliza. I think it's, oh my God, what a skill to have. I mean, I wish I could sing. I can in the shower, but, taking that through, just as a little side note, I think you're seen as a cool mum, because I think it's really cool that you could sing. Do you? I'm obviously Archie, not so much being so little, but your daughter, does she look up to you and think, oh, well, mum's just so amazing?
Look, yeah, to be honest, for a long time, she probably didn't really understand, I guess, how much I sing. I think, she's always heard me on the piano and heard me writing songs. She has heard some of my songs in TV shows, which I think really made her feel pretty proud. But recently I've been working with the Bendigo South Sudanese community. I'm working on a new theatre work with them, and she came along and watched the performance, me performing with the women, and she was just absolutely blown away and has made a little picture book about mum and how she's a singer and how she's working with the South Sudanese community. So that made me feel
that's cool.
really proud.
I'm a cool mom.
Yeah. Oh, and also I've always thought that musical parents just have an extra string to their bow, pardon the pun, but it just gives you a triple threat in a way, because you can really, bring parenting alive when you're musical. I'm a bit envious.
Yeah, look, actually, I think, I think you're right. I love singing to my children, and it's always been part of our lives. So yeah, it is a great thing.
Now, Eliza, I'm going to be asking every single mum that we speak to today about this, because I think that as mothers, we rarely give ourselves permission to care for ourselves. We're juggling a lot every day. And so I'm asking, in support of each other, for some tips on how we care for ourselves. So can you tell me, what is one thing that you do to help you be healthier or happier?
One thing I do, well, I write in my journal. I feel like that helps, just writing things down. I make sure that I have plenty of time to have a bath. It's like my favourite thing. Because of my disability as well, I have really cold legs and cold hands because my blood circulation isn't getting down to my feet. And so baths are definitely part of my self-care routine. And just, nice cups of tea, dark chocolate, all those beautiful things.
I'm writing all this down, actually.
Sounds glorious.
I
do miss my bath. I don't have a bath in my house currently, and I miss it immensely.
I think that is a good handbook for modern living. Journal, bath, tea, dark chocolate. What a glorious thing. So Eliza Hull, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to play one of your songs in just a moment, which I absolutely loved, but I just want to mention that you are playing this Saturday. If you're in Melbourne, you can head along and see this incredible gig called Amplify. Can you tell us a bit about this gig?
Yeah, so this Saturday night at the Collingwood Yards, there's an event, as you said, called Amplify, and it is amplifying the voices of disabled musicians. So there'll be 5 of us performing, and also the art of disabled artists. So there's going to be an exhibition happening, and it's a fully accessible show. So for people with physical disability, it's accessible. There's also going to be an Auslan interpreter. There's going to be audio descriptions for people that are blind or have low vision, and it's also going to be a relaxed performance for people that might have sensory sensitivities.
What a glorious
That sounds amazing.
Doesn't it,
amazing. Yeah.
Sounds absolutely beautiful. So head along to Amplify if you can this Saturday night. If you're in Melbourne, we're going to play one of your beautiful songs. This song is called Hard Way. Can you tell us just a little bit about this song before we play it there, Eliza?
This is really just a love song, but a love gone wrong. So it's just about a relationship that just clearly wasn't going to work out.
Okay, well, check out Eliza's music online. You can check her out at elizahull.com. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. Eliza, thanks so much.
And we look forward to your book as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much.
This song is called Hard Way. wasn't that
What a
beautiful?
great song.
Kes?
Her voice is amazing. Oh, to sing like that.
I know, wouldn't you give anything? I have to say thank you to Chloe, who's given us a little comment on Facebook. She says, my mum was a singer and I just got used to going to gigs and thought all mums did it.
Oh, great. I love it when you're at a gig and you're seeing parents there with their little ones bounce on hip and they've got the noise muffling headphones on. I went, I love that.
Absolutely.
These kids is like, yeah.
I know, it is the best. Oh, I love that. Thanks for that comment there, Chloe. You can comment anytime on Facebook or YouTube. Now, Kerrie, we are thrilled to announce that we are working with a new partner, Saba Organics, one of the world's only 100% certified organic range of skincare and body care. Saba Organics make beautiful hand washes and hand sanitizers or cleaning products for your home, all 100% certified organic. And the exciting thing is that we are giving away for Mother's Day 3 weekend hampers, which includes body wash, hand wash, moisturizer, deodorant, and hand sanitizer, together with a dinner for 2 to 3 blue ducks. We have 3 of those to give away.
Amazing.
I know, what a prize. I love this. Thank you so much to Saba Organics. All you have to do to enter is to head along to the address that is on your screen, broadradio.com.au/more to say with Saba Organics, and just nominate a mother in your life. It could be a mother who birthed you, a mother who raised you, a best friend who's an amazing mother. It could be your partner. It could be yourself. Who would you nominate, Kerrie?
Who would I nominate? I'd have to say, of course, my mum, Peter, who has just always been, just an incredible woman. Like, she's always been 100% supportive of what I have always wanted to do. I did follow in her footsteps for a little hot minute and became a nurse back in the late 80s. I did. I know, that surprises everybody. No, but then I just realised about 1.5 years into the training, I went, no, I loved looking after the people, but the study not so much, and I was always a creative. So then I jumped ship and became a hairdresser.
Well, I'm glad you did, because otherwise I wouldn't have met you. But please do head along. You've got until next week. You've got a full week to nominate a mother in your life for this incredible prize from Saba Organics. We really want you to do this because mums need love, not laundry. We've had lots of amazing entries nominating beautiful mothers in their lives to our gorgeous Mother's Day giveaway from Saba Organics. And one such person who has entered is Amanda, who's joining us from Bomaderry in New South Wales. Hi there, Amanda.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
We're really well. Who are you nominating? What mother in your life would you like to see win this gorgeous prize?
Okay, I'm nominating my mum. Her name is Wendy.
And why are you nominating your mum?
I'm nominating my mum because she cooks my childhood meals, and she puts them in containers and sends them down to me with my daughter, and it's just such a lovely treat.
Oh, look, I imagine that this would evoke some beautiful childhood memories. How divine, what are your favourite meals that she's been cooking for you?
Okay, well, last week she cooked me this dish. It's called tomato chicken. It's like a spaghetti dish. And it was just beautiful. And she also makes another chicken casserole dish. And these are dishes that she made when I was like 4 and 5 years old. So she's been cooking them a long time. Yeah.
I love that. It's so true that when you're eating those meals that you remember as a kid that your mum is still making for you, it's like being enveloped in her love.
It is. It's really special, yeah.
Oh, that is so lovely.
I love that.
Thank you for nominating Wendy. And we wish Wendy a very happy Mother's Day this Sunday. And, good luck with that prize there, Amanda. Thank you so much for entering.
Thank you.
And the good news is, just for coming on Broad Radio today, you also are going to be receiving a gorgeous Saba Organics hamper. You're going to be getting the Love Your Body hamper, which is full of beautiful 100% certified organic skincare for your body.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy that. And you have a great Mother's Day too, Amanda.
Yes, I appreciate that.
And make sure you head along to broadradio.com.au and enter for your chance to win one of these fantastic weekend hampers and dinner for 2 to 3 blue ducks. Thanks to Saba Organics. At Broad Radio, we believe in caring for each other, for ourselves and for the planet, which is why we're so pleased to be partnering with Saba Organics, one of the world's only 100% certified organic range of skin and body care. Whether it's hand wash, hand sanitizer or cleaning products for our home, obviously none of us want to be covering our skin in toxins or chemicals. But the thing is, how do we really know what goes into the products we use? This is something I've only just discovered. Even when something is described as natural ingredients, generally those ingredients have been exposed to toxic herbicides and pesticides in the farming, which is therefore damaging the earth and of course our bodies. I've only just learned this. But Saba Organics is 100% certified organic, which guarantees no aluminium, no sulfate or parabens and no toxic chemicals. And they work directly with Australian organic farmers, growers and suppliers so that they can offer the most accessible certified organics at the lowest prices. I love the Saba Organics lemon tea tree and kunzia hand wash. It's just delicious. But you can check out their whole range at sabaorganics.com.
Australia's harsh sun is proven to visibly age women by up to 20 years faster than those in the US. That's why you need sunscreen every day. Ask your Chemist Warehouse pharmacist which sunscreen is right for your skin.
Broad Radio. Talking inspo we love, info we need, and sharing more of us. Watch and listen live every Tuesday 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time at broadradio.com.au or find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and LinkedIn at Broad Radio Oz. Talk to us live. Call on 1300 8 Broad. Catch up on demand anytime, anywhere, every time, everywhere. On the train, we'll be here. 2 a.m. existential crisis, we've got you covered. Broad Radio, here for more.
Kerrie, our bumper Mother's Day episode of Broad Radio continues, and we are celebrating and acknowledging different kinds of mother experiences today. And I think one that often isn't acknowledged at Mother's Day is the mother who has experienced that profound grief of losing a child. And I think it's really important that we do acknowledge that, because going into Mother's Day can be a really painful experience. And I know that, Kerrie, you lost your beautiful daughter Rani when she was 18. So what is Mother's Day like for you?
Yeah, Joe, it's really funny. Even leading up to the first one after Rani had passed, it was the actual lead up to it that was, I think, the most difficult. Being triggered a lot. Now this will be the third one without her. Of course, I still have my son Connor, and he's heaven. But I find I'm just getting triggered a fair bit. I was at the gym the other day, and I love my gym. It's all women's space. And there was lots of mums and bubs there. And seeing them interacting, and they were talking about Mother's Day, and I just had to leave the room. I got teary and had to kind of go and recompose myself and come back together to be in the space. So how was it? Look, at times it's difficult, but then I have to remember that I still have, my son. He's still here. And in fact, recently I've got a big tattoo on my arm in memorial of Rani, and Connor has been wanting something for several years. So he got his done last Monday, and he's got a gorgeous Lisa and Bart Simpson tattoo that I got for him. So it's so heaven that I was having a moment with him. I was meant to be with him when he was getting done, but I was interstate. So we're texting each other while I was doing it, and it was very difficult in that moment. And he was saying, I feel Rani's with me. She's here. What do you say? The experience was, I like it, but slightly annoying, just like Rani. I just loved it. And it was just really sweet for him to kind of have these. As I said, he's almost 26 now, and to have that, that kind of being able to joke about it, but know that it's just kind of ever present. So it really brings to me being really mindful of women out there who have lost their mothers, that have lost their children, that have fertility issues, that have all those things around parenting. It's extremely difficult and very triggering to have a day like Mother's Day coming up. So at times I would have had joyful experiences with it, and other times not so much.
Have you got any, I don't know if advice is the right word, but for women who are heading into Mother's Day feeling that grief, what would you share with them that might perhaps, what's an assistance for you perhaps?
Sure. I think I'd personally had always been that yes person. I'm okay. Everything's great. I had the smile on my face and all of that kind of thing. But I think just be true to yourself and go, look, you know what, in that moment, I'm not okay. Or, it depends on when you ask me how I'm feeling, that to acknowledge it and to be honest with yourself and honest with those around you, find your support network and allow yourself to have that vulnerability and to be okay in that if you've got the right people and support network around you to allow you to be in that moment. So I think just be honest. And if you want to hide away, then do so, and that's absolutely fine. Do whatever works for yourself. Because I know, like, even leading up to Rani's death, she died by suicide and had a lot of mental health issues leading up to that, with all the support in the world that we could give to her with the professionals and so forth. But I know that I came across a fair bit of backlash from some people in my life that I thought were close friends that certainly didn't agree with how I was handling it. And so I know that I had to just cut them off. And even though a couple of them had been in my life for many, many years, but no, to go, you know what, you're not being supportive to me. I'm going off on a tangent here, but, knowing, put your boundaries in place, knowing that, it's okay, whatever works for you, you're doing the best you can with the tools that you have. And
I think too, what you're saying there, Kerrie, is that for those of us who are around someone who we know may be hurting or may be facing Mother's Day with a particular kind of pain, our job is to be good friends and to be supportive of whatever that person needs. It's a pretty simple thing.
I completely agree with you. Absolutely. Yeah. So just do whatever works for yourself. That's however that looks. And it's different for everybody. Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're heading into Mother's Day this weekend with some pain or heaviness, our hearts are with you. We'll have more Broad Radio after this. I'm in a new strategy. Well, we continue to speak with mothers who have very broad experiences and perspectives on life, and we're super thrilled to welcome a person who really is honest about the life of being a chick and a mother. Welcome comedian and author of Some Mums Are Fat Molls, Nelly Thomas. Hi there.
Hello, Kerrie. Hello, Joe. Oh, my Lord, what an intro. I'm so glad I wrote this book.
I know.
Well, I'm so glad you did too, because firstly, so you can educate everyone on how Molls is spelt. 100%.
Oh, Kerrie, don't even get me started. I made the mistake of putting that on Facebook of whether to spell it M-O-L-E or M-O-L-L. I have a degree in politics, right? I can engage with debate. I've never seen anything like it. People were furious. I had to moderate the comments.
Which side of the fence did it go to? Of course,
I went to the M-O-L-L because that was my initial instinct. But I did give a nod to the M-O-L-Es on the front cover. It's like someone's graffitied M-O-L-E and then crossed it out and written M-O-L-L.
Right.
The big issues, ladies, the big issues.
Oh, jeez. Nelly, what does Mother's Day look like for you?
Oh, I don't know what it's going to look like yet. I mean, it was quite interesting just listening to that conversation. I've got mixed feelings about Mother's Day, I think. Like, it's fraught for a lot of people for different reasons. You know, if you're not close to your own mum or if you're grieving someone you've lost. Like, I was really close to my nana, so I really miss her leading up to that. And then there's also, you know, celebrating my role as a mother. I don't like the commercial aspect of it. I don't like the really gendered kind of advertising that comes along with Mother's Day. So I've got like all this sort of mixed feel. I mean, I'll take the breakfast in bed is probably where I end up, you know?
Burnt toast all the way.
Yes, a burnt waffle and some like, you know, that cream out of a can. Because that's like, yeah, I love that in my house. The kids think that's like Christmas Day.
Nelly, you are the author of Some Mums Are Fat Moles, but also you have Some Girls, Some Boys, and Some Brains, right?
Yeah.
These are all kids' books that are, you know, it's kind of almost an education process that you're going through and helping kids and understand all the different ways of living life, I suppose. Do you reckon parenting is super hard because we're having to train our kids in more complicated issues these days?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I was listening to Eliza, your previous guest before. I'm obsessed with Eliza, and now I'm going to go and find everything she's ever done ever because she was wonderful. But yeah, I think disability is a really interesting example, isn't it? Where when we were kids, there's no way there would have been discussions about disability and difference other than in a very kind of patronising way. If those discussions were had at all. Whereas I think for all the criticism that modern parents get, a lot of us really are trying to engage with these kinds of sophisticated identity issues and world issues in a way that, you know, previous generations maybe haven't, whether they haven't had the tools to or they didn't want to, it kind of doesn't matter. We are engaging with a lot of complexity and, you know, really trying to raise good little humans. And I guess my books are just like an attempt to help with that and an attempt to, you know, reframe something like disability, for example. All my books have got people with disabilities in them and they're not represented, like the kids aren't, you know, sitting in a corner being read to, like, aren't you a good person if you engage with the little kid in the wheelchair or whatever. Those kids are in there, you know, they're playing tug of war, they're part of the gang, they're part of the community, they're happy, they're laughing. So it's not just about those kids being included like visually, it's how they're represented as well. I think that's really important.
Nelly, can you tell our listeners what brought you to writing about this, of course, in your personal experience?
Yeah, so the first book I started was with Some Girls because my youngest girl, who is, you know, she is a loose unit. Like she's a really interesting kid. Like she got invited to a princess party when she was 2 and she went as Darth Vader. You know what I mean? Like this is the vibe.
Yes.
You know, walking in with a and the whole thing. So she really does her own thing, and she is kind of she identifies as a girl, but she's definitely gender non-conforming. She's been bullied for how she's looked. You know, we've had a whole, I mean, I could go into that for hours. I won't, but suffice to say she had a hard time, and I couldn't find any books that weren't really bloody sad about bullying or about being different. And so that's why I wrote Some Girls. And it's really just about going, you know, you might have short hair, you might have long hair, you might like trucks, you might like Barbies. It's all good, you know, just be who you are. And then out of that, of course, when I was sort of spruiking that around and doing readings and stuff, the boys quite rightly would go, what about our book? So then I did that one. And why don't we have an International Men's Day? They didn't do that. Anyway, that'll come later. But then I finally ended up writing Some Brains because my beautiful daughter, the 8-year-old, she was diagnosed with autism. I hate the word diagnosed, but anyway, we discovered she was autistic when she was around 5 or 6. And again, when I went looking for literature that was positive about her brain, you know, that talked to her like, yes, okay, you have some challenges, as Eliza said, being a person with a disability in the world that we have is not always easy, but can we look at what strengths you have? Can we look at how your brain brings something different to the world and something that we need? And I couldn't find it, honestly. So again, I just thought I'll write it. And very briefly, I wrote Some Mums because I was sick of writing kids' books and I wanted to swear.
Shit, yeah. Why not?
Yeah. An oath, mate.
But you've had an extraordinary response to Some Brains, particularly, I know, Nelly.
Yeah.
I love reading the sorts of comments that you get from parents and from kids about that book.
It's honestly, I mean, it is the great joy of my career, that book, like unexpectedly, like I feel like I get a bit Oprah when I talk about it, but you know, when people say just like do something that like comes from the heart that you really believe in with sort of no expectations of what will happen, that's this project. And I've never in my life had such amazing feedback. I mean, probably one of my favourite ones was like an occupational therapist messaged me and she said they had Some Brains on the counter at work, and a dad had come in and he was picking up his kid and he was just flicking through it, and he turned to her and he said, "Oh, shit, I'm not stupid, I'm autistic."
Oh,
And he had this moment of recognition. This is a grown man, but again, for us, of anyone of our generation or older, so many, you know, when you hear people go, "Oh, we didn't have all these autistic kids in my day." Yeah, we did. It was you. No one told you. You know, so it's kind of like there's so many adults who are getting late diagnosed now, and for a lot of them, they're going, "Oh, this makes sense. Now I understand why this was hard," or "I found this I didn't understand what had happened," or so it's kind of, it's a book for kids, but weirdly a lot of adults have responded to it as well.
Yeah, all your books are absolutely beautiful, and we can get them online. I think we can get them from your website. Is that right? All of your books?
Yeah, you can. That's probably the easiest. You just go to nellythomas.com and you'll find them eventually. Yeah.
Just go searching.
Yeah.
Nelly, as we head into Mother's Day, I'm asking everybody this question, all of the mothers that have joined us today, because acknowledging that we don't look after ourselves as much as we would like, but to empower each other, what is your tip that you do, one thing even that you do that helps you feel healthier or happier?
Yeah, I reckon hide in the shed and have a smoke and a gin, right? You can't do that shit in front of your kids, but just like take some time on Sunday for a dart and a gin. Or if you want a serious answer, and again, this sounds like a joke, but I mean it, I've come to this conclusion: get out of the house. You know, like all of this, like, I get it too, like have a bath or, you know, eat a nice meal or talk to a friend on the phone or whatever. I'm just like, you are not going to get peace in my house anyway, unless you just get out of there. So try when you can to get out of that bloody house.
Run for your life.
Run for your life, kids. Run for your life.
Oh, Nelly Thomas, gorgeous as ever. Thank you so much for joining us on Broad Radio.
Thank you for having me, and happy Mother's Day to you both.
And we'll have more Broad Radio after this. Well, I don't know about you, Kerrie, but I love fashion magazines. I've loved them since I picked up my first Harper's Bazaar when I was 14 years old. And I love the...
Oh, you started fancy. Harper's.
Oh,
I mean, wasn't it fancy? Whoa.
It was also Dolly Doctor at the same time, you know. I was obsessed with Dolly.
Absolutely. It was Dolly all the way.
But don't you remember those the photos and the fashion, the styling, the locations? They were just intoxicating for me.
Completely.
But I also love a woman who takes on the world whilst having 1,000 children attached to her hip. So hence, I'm really excited to welcome our next guest this morning. Justine Cullen is a former editor of Elle Magazine. She has a book that is being released today. It's called Semigloss, and she joins us now. Hi, Justine.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Well,
hello, Justine.
Congratulations on the book, Justine. Now, you say that it's not really a memoir, it's not self-help, it's not a tell-all book. But what I see it as is a story of a very ambitious and brilliant woman who landed her dream job, editor of Elle Magazine, and had a child all within the same month, pretty much. I mean, it's extraordinary. What an achievement, even in that moment.
Do you know what is really interesting is that every single time I've had a child, and you're right, that's 1,000 times, I seem to have changed a job or got a new job or been in the middle of getting a job. So there's always been something, which has meant that I've never had maternity leave, but worth it, I guess.
Justine, I really enjoyed your book. I saw a lot of myself in you, I guess, in your early days. Go-getter, you knew what you wanted, or you fudged your way through it, which I also completely identified with. So I absolutely, so much fudging, I completely related. But what I loved, I took away from that, is that you also said that work was your identity, and you didn't want to, have your team or anyone in your workspace take that away from you being a mother. I mean, that's an important place to be. I thoroughly identified with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a couple of things. Like, one was that my identity was way more caught up with my job than I had ever imagined, and secondly, that I was always pushing against this idea of identifying too much as a mother. And so, yeah, I feel like there were these two sort of elements of my life that I wasn't quite sure sort of how I fit in once I'd left that job, and my idea of who I was got a bit shaken up.
But I found it really interesting too, Justine, that it seemed like you never felt like you had to make the choice between career and real goals, like massive goals, and having children, which I think a lot of women feel like, oh, I can't fathom doing the two. Was there ever a moment where you did feel like you had to choose, or you just kind of kept on forging your way?
I don't think I was ever that smart or strategic about it. I'm very much sort of do it first and work it out later. And I feel like as women, we really do overthink things. And I definitely have a tendency to do that. So, there was a time, for example, the time when I was going for the role at Elle, and I was really sure that this magazine was launching and it was my dream job and I really wanted that job, but I also really wanted to have a baby. And I was putting off having the baby, and then finally someone said to me, God, you could go and have this baby and have another baby and it still won't have launched. Like, you just never know what's going to happen. So you kind of can't make these life decisions based around planning everything to the nth degree. And thank God I took that advice and I went and had the baby, because, in the end I got the job, or the magazine launched just three months later after the baby was born. And that was, I wouldn't have him today if I had waited.
And did you find too that
a lot of them.
Yes, did you find too that, when you're taking on these massive roles, parenting being the first and foremost, like it's a huge role that we never can be prepared for, that you had to find the support network around you to help prop you up? And in doing that, did you also find that some people dropped by the wayside because they could not relate to being, working mothers? Does that make sense?
I didn't find that so much. I was the first of my circle of friends to have a baby, and so I definitely at that stage went through all of those emotions that I think lots of people have of, I was transitioning into a new life. At the same time, my friends were really kicking career goals, and I was sort of having to take a step backwards in my head. So there was some difficulty, I think, in sort of, again, knowing who I was at that time. But then for me, having children really gave me a creative surge that I don't think I had before. And while I was always ambitious, I didn't really, it was only directed at, I want that job. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. Whereas when I had babies, I was very clear about the kind of magazines that I wanted to make and the kind of women who I wanted to speak to. And so if anything, I think having children maybe made me more creative and more directed and brought the right people into my life.
Well, I have to ask about the magazine, about the behind the scenes of a magazine like Elle. I was a religious reader myself, and I guess it's similar. I've had many years in radio, and people always assume that was quite a glamorous job, and it couldn't be anything further from the truth. Is this the same when you're editing a fashion magazine? Is it everything but a glamorous life?
No, I wouldn't say that. There are parts, of course, there are parts of the job that are just middle management, pen pushing, fighting with publishers about what you've spent on couriers that month or taxis, these ridiculous kind of the minutiae of running a business. But then there are some very, very glamorous parts to being an editor, and that's part of, I think, why the industry, mourns the demise of magazines like that, and how, it's such a sad thing, because it's almost, the lifestyle is almost from another time. And I mean, some of the experiences that we had, and the people that you meet in that role, being flown all around the world constantly. One of the reasons that I left Elle was that all of a sudden I realized I had 4 children and I was going to Europe every month, and that probably wasn't going to work for my family. There were just some incredible experiences, and lots and lots of glamour. It's just countered by the boring parts that are in any office job, really.
Do you think we will see, a resurgence in magazines, in print production? I mean, we understand that it's gone by the wayside and everything's gone digital, but so many people just love the tangibility of a beautiful product. Are we going to see some of them come back?
Look, I don't think we'll ever see the glory days of print coming back, unfortunately. I'm the same as you. I love sinking into, the bathtub with a magazine and having that tangible aspect. It's not quite the same thing when you're scrolling through the same screen that you've been working on all day. I think that there are some wonderful little niche magazines coming up that are really creative and really inspiring, and they're very fun. But really, I think that the next frontier in terms of that content, it will always be digital. It's just, how we enrich that storytelling and how we get smarter with how we talk to women digitally. And I don't know that we're quite there yet. I think that surge is yet to come.
Justine, I wondered, as an editor of a magazine like Elle, and even now I know that you're still working in publishing, are you aware that you are shaping societal attitudes in a lot of ways, that you have a real impact even on how people see themselves, and women specifically? Were you aware of that sort of responsibility?
To a degree, particularly at Elle, where I felt like our role was very much to champion the women of the time. And, on other magazines, you're all about the designers and the clothes. And for me at Elle, and for all the Elles internationally, I was very aware that for us it was about the women who were wearing the clothes. So there was a degree of that, but I think your role as a magazine is really to reflect the times and what's happening in society, and to be able to start those conversations that might already be happening in some degree. It's not really, I think, our job to, it's not really our job to shape society. It's more of our job to reflect it. And I think that is one of the great joys and responsibilities of working in women's magazines. That role that you play as a voice for women and a platform for women is really important. And I was so lucky to edit a magazine like Elle at a time, through the Me Too movement, through that sort of new wave of feminism. I think I was so lucky to have a platform like Elle to be able to speak to women at that time.
Because you could also then shape the kinds of bodies that we see in magazines, or cultural diversity, or, there are so many different ways of shifting, I guess, the needle and how we see women specifically by what you put in that magazine. What an exciting thing.
Yeah, and look, I wish it could have been more exciting, to be honest. I mean, it was constant battle for me and for many other editors. And I think probably less now, because diversity is such a huge thing and it's so important, and everyone's realized that. But, for many, many years in magazines, there was definitely a view that, well, only, a skinny blonde television presenter is going to sell. And that was my constant fight in the boardroom, was to get different shapes and colors and types of women, and even just to break out of the mold of the celebrity, to be able to put other kinds of women on the cover. And I think we did that in many ways. We did lots of incredible portrait series of women, and we had the first cover of a woman breastfeeding that had ever run in the world, and things like that, just to be able to tell those different stories. But they were not always easy. And again, another thing I talk about in the book is that those covers often didn't sell. And so it was really hard for you to have that fight with the suits up on the top floor when they were looking at the numbers. The great thing for me was that social media sort of arose at the same time. And so when a cover was being liked and got lots of attention, it didn't really matter anymore if it sold incredibly well, because, advertisers would still advertise with you because they were excited by what you were doing. And I think that made a massive difference in editors being able to put forward covers that maybe broke out of the mold a little bit. But it took a very long time. And I still don't really think that that magazines are there. And, you know, it's something I still fight about today, particularly in terms of size. You know, it's really impossible to get samples in bigger sizes to shoot. And for me, that's, you know, I tear my hair out because we'll have this wonderful concept and a wonderful model or talent, and it's still impossible to get the clothes. So it's something that we have to fight at every level of the industry. And I think fashion is getting there, but they're definitely not there yet.
Justine, I started out as a freelance hair and makeup artist back in the early 90s. So I can certainly relate to what you're saying about having that diversity. There was none, of course, in any of those shoots and in all those productions. And yet here we are still talking about that, you know, 25, 30 years later, and there's very little change, or it's starting to come through. And I guess that's the advent of social media, thankfully, because the people and the women are speaking, and hopefully they're being listened to now.
Absolutely. But I still think, you know, diversity has to go beyond just skin color. And I would love to see representation of all kinds of women in magazines or people in magazines. You know, I think ableism is something that we really need to fight, and to be able to see more disabled bodies and people who have different takes on life portrayed is really, really important. So for me, that's the next frontier.
Well, Justine, it's been an absolute delight to speak with you this morning about all things magazines. I'm fascinated and love them, and do more than them, I must say. But we are also celebrating mums today, women who are doing extraordinary things and mothering at the same time. And we're asking all of the mothers that are joining us, what is something that you do for your health or happiness in and around raising 4 boys?
Well, like most mothers, that is very low on my list of priorities. For me, it's really about just taking some time out. For example, this Mother's Day, I'm going away by myself because I love them so much, but I don't need to see them every minute of every day at the moment. It's been a big year. I was like, you know, when they say, what do you want for Mother's Day? And I'm just like, just some peace and quiet. And they're all laughing. I'm like, no, actually. So I think it's really important just to take a little bit of time, even if that's locking yourself in a toilet cubicle for a while, which I'm also, you know, I've been known to do. 4 kids is a lot. And I also have, you know, I sort of have a big team at work, and there's always someone who needs me or wants something from me. So lying in a dark room is all the self-care that I need.
Oh my God, I just love that.
Sounds great.
For Mother's Day, I'm choosing not to see my children. I celebrate that so much.
I need it to be said that I do very much love my children.
Of course you do.
Oh, there's no doubt, but I love that.
And I think you're able to love them even more in the times when you don't see them sometimes.
Oh my God, I never love my children more than when they're sleeping or I'm away from them. It's an intense kind of passion.
It's true. Oh, Justine Cullen, so delightful to speak with you. The book is Semi-Gloss and it's out today. Oh, get out and get it because it was really fun. It's a great read, and also, I must say, quite moving in times. I just really loved your honesty and rawness in there, Justine. It was beautiful.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate having me on today.
Thanks, Justine. And
Thanks,
we'll
Justine.
have more Broad Radio after this. Kerrie, oh my goodness. Are you there, Kez? I don't know if she is. I've lost her. Well, that has been a very jam-packed Broad Radio. And one of my takeaways for Mother's Day is, you know what, just don't see your children. That's what I have learned so far from pretty much our last 2 or 3 guests. Kerrie, this is what we're being told for Mother's Day. Take some time away from your kids. That seems to be the theme of the day. Are you there, Kez? I don't know if she can hear me. Right. No, she can't hear me. Do you know what? We're going to wrap up the show. It's been such a big show. We thank all of our guests. Don't forget to head along to broadradio.com.au and enter our beautiful Saba Organics giveaway for Mother's Day. Make sure you do that. You could win yourself a beautiful hamper from Saba Organics, a weekend hamper, plus dinner for two at 3 Blue Ducks. Make sure you do that. I myself are heading off now to man the Mother's Day stall at school. So there's no rest for the wicked. We wish you all a beautiful Mother's Day, and we'll see you next week on Broad Radio.